Hey everybody, I'm Paul Green and this is my M.A.R.P, or Major Applied Research Project for Dr. Brown's EDUC 547-548 course, Spring 1, 2018. Now, I know what you're wondering. Why in the world is he dressed like that? Great question. Well, I'm a very creative person by nature and pretty silly as well. And I do my very best to bring my unique energy and personality to the lessons I plan at my school site, where I teach history to high school students, even at the expense of my own dignity sometimes. Most young people today, they find history rather boring. And to combat that, I'm always trying to come up with ways to liven up the lessons, make them more exciting, tap into student creativity. Basically make the lessons as engaging as possible. Hence, the historical garb for your viewing and laughing pleasure. So today, the subject of my M.A.R.P is virtual field trips. We're not only going to be learning about virtual field trips today, but we're actually going to go on one to, you guessed it, ancient Egypt. So sit back, buckle up, and let's take a trip together. So, virtual field trips. First order of business, let's all make sure we understand just exactly what it is we're talking about. VFTs have been around for more than a decade now, rather surprisingly, in some rudimentary form or another. And here's what they are. Educational guided explorations through the internet that organize a collection of pre-screened, thematically based web pages into one structured online learning experience. Not surprisingly, though, is just how far virtual field trips have come and grown in popularity in the last few years, thanks to emerging technologies available to us in our classrooms. So, they're simulated real-time field trips for students without the hassles normally associated with field trips, like permission slips, getting on a smelly bus, waiting in lines, keeping track of wandering students, chaperones, etc. It's a super cost-effective way for learners to explore and see places, things, sites, and people they might not ever get an opportunity to encounter. And with the possible addition of audio and even video conferencing today, students in your classroom can visit and learn from people and places from just about anywhere else on the planet. Some of the most popular virtual field trips for today's students, according to eSchool News, are Le Louvre Museum, naturally, a walk on the moon, the White House, the NASA Space Center. I've actually been there in real life and can attest to its awesomeness. The Museum of Natural History, and even Mount Everest. Seriously, today's school students can climb Mount Everest on a virtual field trip. Look, I found it. Here's that virtual field trip of Mount Everest. Any second now. Yeah, there it is. It's awesome. So, Eileen Owens is an instructional technology coordinator, and she describes virtual field trips this way. Kids don't find studying the sciences very exciting, but that changes when you make learning come alive like this. I could not agree more. There really are some amazing trips out there, not just this Mount Everest one, for all of us educators to plan. In fact, Discovery Education has a calendar on their website with different VFTs offered almost every single day. More and more, schools are adding the video conferencing element to their virtual field trips. This way, students exploring a zoo or a farm or a museum or science center or historical site of some sort can have a professional tour guide with them each step of the journey, walking them through the site's various corridors and windows and teaching them the entire time. One of the greatest attributes of virtual field trips is that they can be customized for your students and the educational goals you want to meet for your lesson or your unit or the standards you and the class are focusing on at a given time. For example, if my modern world history students and I were taking a virtual field trip around early October to the National Archives in Washington, D.C., I might correspond with the video conference tour guide via Skype ahead of time to let him or her know that California State Social Standard 10.1, Social Science Standard 10.1, number 3 states that the students need to be able to consider the influence of the U.S. Constitution on political systems in the contemporary world. In accordance with that, I might ask the virtual tour guide to spend more time expounding on the US Constitution when we get there on the tour. Or maybe ask that he or she stop and let me ask guiding or essential questions of the students about the document, such as how does it relate to the Magna Carta in England, or the Declaration of Rights of Man and the Citizen in France, etc., to ensure that the standard is adequately addressed while on the tour. You can even use the video conferencing feature to take a virtual field trip with students in other classrooms on your campus or any other campus at the exact same time. So say my modern world history students wanted to see the Palace of Versailles, just outside Paris, at the exact same time Mr. Jones's class, way on the other side of our campus, was also studying the Treaty of Versailles that ended World War I. And they also wanted to take a trip there. Well, Mr. Jones and I could collaborate to take our students there together, virtually. We could even have the same guided tour with the same standards, same framework in mind, perhaps even the same formative and summative assessments attached to the tour along the way, without even being in the same classroom together, let alone having to board a plane from LAX to De Gaulle. Now, another awesome benefit to a VFT is the ability to literally travel all the way around the world without a passport, potentially fostering global connections for your students, maybe even networking for yourself with other educators. Such an endeavor would give students, and teachers really, from entirely different cultures and backgrounds, a chance to discuss common content they might be studying, common issues, events, and perhaps even include how they can all become better global citizens and work together to solve actual global problems. So yes, virtual field trips have been around for a number of years, but they have exploded in popularity recently as technology enhancements like audio and video conferencing has made them not only more accessible in classrooms, but also more informative, more valuable, more effective in accomplishing learning goals, and certainly more fun. According to Scholastic.com, achievement goes up when virtual field trips are well integrated, based on educational standards, and tightly tied to the curriculum. A good virtual field trip truly leaves no child behind. So, without further ado, let's all take a virtual field trip together to ancient Egypt, shall we? So, let's pretend that you all are my students and it's very early in the school year, late August maybe, and we're discussing and addressing our very first standard for modern world history, which is analyzing the similarities and differences in law, philosophy, reason, faith, and duties of the individual in the ancient world. Additionally, I might be focused on getting you all to become more adept at analytical and critical thinking. So in addition to taking the virtual field trip, the other half of the assignment will be telling the students they are all reporters from the Los Angeles Times, and they've been assigned a very important story. Their job requires that they visit ancient Egypt, gather as much information as they can from the sites, and put together a piece for the newspaper on what life was like for an ancient Egyptian. Perhaps then I ask the class to log into pbs.org, like we are here, so that we can begin our virtual tour. Ideally, I'd have a professional on site scheduled ahead of time to walk us through the tour, but for now, you're stuck with me and my silly costume. So here we are in ancient Egypt. Let us first explore the Old Kingdom, where the Great Pyramids are located just outside Cairo. Here we have the Giza overview. Giza is located on the west bank of the Nile River, just barely 3 miles southwest of Egypt's modern-day capital city. We can go to the top of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. We can read all about it. We can look all around. Just push this button here and it starts to explore the view from the top of the Great Pyramid of Khufu. We can even go inside this amazing structure. We can walk around. We can look around. We can go into all the different rooms together. We can explore together. We can go to a Khufu boat, read all about a Khufu boat and see that as well. We can also go down to the Sphinx, the incredible Sphinx that we all know so much about. Read even more, look around her, see her amazing view of Egypt. Then after that, we can go down to the New Kingdom. See the Valley of the Nobles, maybe, or even read about the Colossus of Memnon. And then go see the Luxor Temple, which I assure you is incredibly more exciting to see than the one in Las Vegas. And then we can finish up our virtual tour by going to the media browser they've included and reading a bit more about all of these sites. Maybe see the Great Court, the Karnak Temple, and read all about that to include with the assignment. Either way, you get the idea. After the tour concludes, we can have a wrap-up discussion about what the students found most interesting, what stood out, what they remember. Then, as a summative assessment for the lesson, I'll have the students go home and write up their journalism piece with the assigned prompt in accordance with everything they read and saw while on the virtual tour in class. So there you have it. Virtual tours are awesome. I included the sources here that I used to put this project together if you'd like to explore further. VFTs are definitely an emerging trend in educational technology that can be hugely valuable for educators, and not just history teachers. There are a myriad of different tours available online for English teachers, science teachers, PE teachers, even math teachers. So get out there and explore, everybody. Thanks for coming along with me today. Have a great day.